All right, guys, welcome back. That's another comic contributor chat. This time I got with me Dinesh Shamdasani, and I'm probably only going to say it that one time, so I
You did it
hopefully got the
great.
name. But
Perfect.
thank you so much for joining us. If you
Thank
don't
you,
know who
man.
he is, hopefully you've seen the title above my head right here. And if you haven't seen this title, you saw the craziness that is ENIAC, which just came out last week. Um, and just the excitement and the anger and the frustration. And I've never seen a book create so much visceral reaction. And we're going to talk about some of that and some of the reasons that led up to it and all the different things. But thank you so much for joining us.
No, my pleasure, man. Big fan. Thanks for having me.
So one of the things that I really liked is the rumor mill that that you did with the show, this concept.
Hmm.
Um, I guess, sir, I know you came out of Valiant, and
Yeah,
you were when Valiant got reinvented, what, 7-8 years ago, and it was like make
2012 we launched. Yeah.
2012, and all of a sudden Valiant had some of the top artists, because I know Jeff Lemire, I can't say her name, Miko Suan,
Miko Soyan. Yeah,
Miko Suan,
he's
and
great.
like I know Matt
Matt
Kent or
Kint.
Kind.
Yeah.
You had so many great artists and writers working and creating these books, and then you tried to play the variant game, and that got you, like, it got so hard to go, okay, wait, one for 100, one for 1,000, like, how
Well, we
did
never
you?
did. We never did a one for 1,000. The thing about Valiant that was unique is that we tapped into, because I was a Valiant fan growing
Yeah.
up. I came into comics largely through Valiant, and so I shared the kind of point of view that they had. There's a completist nature to Valiant because Valiant was bought by Acclaim and then went away.
Yeah.
You could collect everything Valiant, and that bred a certain type of fan that we tried to tap into. And so we were very conscious that we needed to do variants, which Valiant had never done before because it had existed prior to the big variant boom. But we didn't want to be excessive. We wanted to keep it so that the fans could, the upper limit of decide, I can get everything. So we tried to do that. The most we did was when we launched in 2012, we did a 1 in 50 talking cover. And then we did nothing more than a 1 in 50. And even those were rare. We would do them on big stories or big launches up until we brought Eric Heiser on board. He was the writer who wrote the Bloodshot movie. He got nominated for an Oscar for writing Arrival, and he wrote Secret Weapons for us. We did a 1 in 100 signed edition of his. And then we did a 1 in 500. We had the metal cover.
Yeah.
We wanted to do a big launch for X of Manowar, which Matt Kint was writing. We wanted to break out into new fans, and so we did that. I think since then, Valiant has, since there was an acquisition, I was the CEO and chief credit officer. There's an acquisition, and I left after the acquisition. The new management team is there now. I think they're doing a very different point of view. I'm not sure what they're doing at Valiant, but it seems like
there doesn't seem to be, and they're not as Valiant at that time when you guys, it was, of course, Marvel, DC. You had your Image section at most stores, but then Valiant had just as big and sometimes bigger than Image section for about 3 or 4 years there. But I'm not a huge Valiant guy. I did jump in for Divinity. I love Divinity.
Oh, cool, great. Thanks, man.
Sold me. It was such a good story. I didn't read Divinity 2. I tried. It just wasn't. But like that first one was really good. And some of the things you brought with you to Bad Idea, of the paper quality, the cover quality.
Yeah,
you're all like, I saw that in Valiant, especially the Divinity books. Like they were good cardstock. Now I'm not sure if every issue, and I think I picked up a couple of Ninjak. It was too late to jump in and learn these new characters from Valiant.
That's part of the problem with Valiant.
As a new fan, I was like, I can't do it. It's the 90s is just the 90s, and then it was hard to jump in. Though you had great writers. I mean, like, that was the hard thing. I was like, man, Bloodshot's been written. Jeff Lemire, I loved his stuff over here, but I can't read it it just didn't hit me the same way.
No, I think it's tough. I think we made every issue accessible, but regardless of what you do, the fact that it has this weight of 30 years of history in the back of your mind, it plays a part. You feel like you're missing something, even when you're not. And I think also Valiant is very specific in that it's a grounded, more character-driven universe, which sounds like something everyone would want, but isn't always something everyone wants. I mean, there is a magic to what Marvel does and what DC does. Valiant does something different. It's not for everyone, and so we struggle with that a lot. That was a constant uphill battle for us.
But when you meet a Valiant fan, they are diehard Valiant fans. I know a couple of guys.
They're for life.
They are so proud of their collection. and they're like, I've had it since I was 12, and and I'm like, man, that's just awesome. So, but yeah, so you're no longer with Valiant.
Yeah.
Did you walk out and go, you know what, I have an idea? Or I mean, I know is this your baby, or is this a combination of several of your little child that you put together here?
It's definitely a combination. It's a team. So I'm the co-CEO and co-chief creative officer of Bad Idea. Warren Simons is the other co-CEO and co-CCO. Josh Johns is our director of marketing. Adam Freeman's our head of sales. Hunter Gornson's our publisher. We all work together at Valiant. They all work for me at Valiant. Carl Ballers is our managing editor. And then we've got this huge team of writers and artists, many of which were with us at Valiant, but many of which are also new. We've made some new friends, I guess is a way you could say it.
So I have a sort of a slideshow to sort of guide us through talking about Bad Idea, just because there's certain things that everyone hears. And I went to your site. I went to your Bad Idea site, and I pulled everything that I'm pulling came directly from your site, because I was like, this is coming from what you guys put out. So I don't want
fingers crossed there's no typos.
Yeah, no typo.
I can think of one typo on the site already that I was
okay. Hopefully I didn't pull that one, but I'm going to share this, and let's see here. So got a little site. Of course, you get your picture on there and everything.
God, look at that photo.
I don't know how long ago that photo was created, but
I know
first
exactly
off,
what that was.
You had rules.
Yes.
So I mean, if you've been following Bad Idea, we knew there's these rules limited to one person, must be sold. I mean, some of them are okay. Yeah, they're one per person. Let's see.
We have 6 rules. You're missing the most controversial one. I can walk you through them. What we were trying to do here is, and I think part of the confusion, because Bad Idea is very simple. It's a very, very simple idea. We do not that many books with no variants, no digital, no trades. All you got to do is decide which book you want. There's one edition of it. Go into a store that's a Bad Idea store and get it. That's it. The confusion comes from, I think, the assumption. What I'm starting to learn is the assumption that people are placing on us that we are like other publishers, in the sense that we want the same things they do. One of the key things I think that differentiates Bad Idea is we're not trying to build Marvel or a baby Marvel. At Valiant, we certainly were. That was the goal of that house. We inherited that house, and we tried to expand it and clean it up and make it stronger than it was before, but still keep in the same house. Here at Bad Idea, we're starting a new foundation. And we've decided we've checked a lot of the boxes of making a successful, big selling commercial superhero publisher. And we want to do something different. And so here it's just really a bunch of friends getting together saying, let's not put a lot of pressure on ourselves. Let's just make comics that we're excited about. And so these rules are, again, part of our point of view, which is we really like the experience of reading something tangible. The story works better in its intended medium. Any story works best in its intended medium. And we like the fact that you can buy it in the store. We like that experience. So what we're trying to do is encourage readers to do exactly that. So one per customer. That way we can have we can have as many readers as there are copies. Must not be sold for more than cover price for 30 days. That's our way of saying to the stores, like, hey, please hand sell this to readers. Please don't think about this as something that is beyond that. We're trying to build readers. And if that's not how you're set up as a store, no problem. All stores are set up differently. We're not for you. You're not for us. We can still be friends. We just don't need to be in business together. We'll save each other time. Rule 3, comics can be offered for pre-order, but can't be shipped to anyone before street date. The reason we have that rule is we know that some stores will not want to sign up with us, but they'll still want to carry some of our books for the customers in their stores that want them. So we're totally cool with stores sub-distributing. If you have a store and your buddy has a store and you sign up and your buddy doesn't sign up, he can tell you how many copies he wants you to add onto your order. We're totally cool with that. You can send him those copies. We just want to make sure that you don't send those copies until the day of release. So they don't get to his store, unless you can walk over, until a day or two later. So all the Bad Idea stores have that exclusive window of having the Bad Idea books. For comics obviously displayed in the highest traffic section of the store, we think our comics are worth it. We like our books. We want stores that are excited about us. And if you're not excited about us, it's okay. That's cool. Don't.
Are there secret shoppers? Like, do you have little Bad Idea people that go into the store and go, you know what? They've moved ENIAC and now it's on the back wall. It was supposed to be on the prominent. How are you going to keep track of that one?
We don't have secret shoppers. Well, I guess we do have secret shoppers in the sense that the fan base has turned up and has been great about taking photos and things. But what we're going to do is we're going to keep having fun with the stores. We're going to say to them, hey, we want everyone to take a photo in front of their frame. So if they haven't had their frame, they're going to have to go put it up. If a store puts it up just for that photo and takes it down, It's a bit annoying, but we can't police to that extent.
Yeah.
There's a bit of an honor system here. Rule 5, stores must prominently display each piece of promotional material. This is us being a little annoying. The first thing we did was we sent this giant frame, giant golden ostentatious frame. There's no chance that it fit with any decor in any store in the world.
Yeah.
We said, you got to put this up. And it was kind of a litmus test. If this is offensive to you, you're going to really hate the stuff we got coming down the road. And if this is exciting and kind of fun and stupid and you enjoy it, perfect. That's who we are.
Yeah.
And the 6th rule that's not here, the most controversial, is that we've asked the stores, whatever they order on number 1, they have to order on the rest of that series. So say it's ENIAC, 4 issues, they have to order the same amount on 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
And we said to them, we do not want you ordering on number 4 like you ordered number 1. Actually, the inverse. We want you thinking about how little you're going to sell on 4 and ordering that on 1. And we're going to build these not first printings and keep the books open for reorders so that you don't have to worry about us selling out. You can just worry about yourself selling out. Make sure you don't have extra copies. We don't want to be one of those publishers that, and I guess, look, we were that at Valiant, and every publisher is that, but we want to be something different. Not a publisher that's saying, we want you to order as many as possible. We don't really care if you sell them or not. It's not the game we want to play.
So, but that gets into, let's go here. Well, I'll come back to this guy, the button, which I love the button. But just goes off that statement that you said, though, that gets into a tricky situation of this. It sounds like print on demand. And as a speculator, and Grant, I read it, I bought it, I did get a first print. I'm not selling it. I did because I want the complete set. I want all 4. I have subscribed with my shop for all 4. But when I hear print on demand, and then that's not what you're calling it. You're calling it not first print.
Yeah, but it is. It's an open order. In essence, it's kind of print on demand. No one should be, in my opinion, no one should, and I'm a collector myself, no one should be paying more than cover price for the not first print of ENIAC 1, which is the black logo. That book already has significantly more copies as a print run than the first printing. We've gone back to press already once because it's been crazy how astronomical these sales have been. And we'll keep going back to press. That book will be a ubiquitous book.
So, but I guess in stores we'll learn that, and first prints are always that way. You'll have more bought of first print, and some people might not read it because people are seeing that the second prints are selling for $20 and $30 or whatever, and the first print, of course, is selling for $150 to $200 right now.
It's crazy.
It blows my mind. I mean, it's a great story, and but it blows my mind anytime a brand new book sells for somewhat double cover. Yeah, fine, I can see that. I mean, a rare book, yes. In your book, it's going to be. But I don't know. It strikes me as. So let me switch back to. I feel weird talking to the little small corner of the thing. So it strikes me as interesting, though. I don't know. This print on demand thing is tricky, and I understand what you're saying, but as a store, it's one of those. Well, I don't want to buy. I want my customers to have it because right now it has buzz. So is it 50 copies or is it 25 copies that I can put another order in, and maybe I'll have the 25 copies before issue 2 comes out. But what happens if only 2 people come in and want that because it was really interesting for this 1 week? But guess what? The spec world has already gone on, and they're specking on freaking Spider-Man's 300th appearance or whatever.
Now it's becoming difficult because of that. You're absolutely right. Our goal is to have stores order. If they think they can sell 10 copies, they should order 10 copies. Yeah. They shouldn't worry about what if I sell 15, or they should order 9 copies because our customers already have to figure out how to get our books. They're not in every store. They're not digital. They're not trades. So you've got to do a little bit of work. And that's kind of where we are as a company. We want the stores to do a little bit of work. You can see from those rules. Mm-hmm. We want the customer, the reader, to do a little bit of work. Find a store. Make sure you pre-order. And we're going to do a little bit of work. ENIAC number 1 is a 48-page. First of all, that cover is ridiculous. It's
gorgeous.
It's spared no expense. You literally cannot spend more money to make a nicer cover. It's a 12-point cardstock, double laminate, double matte,
gorgeous
gloss cover. And that reduces damages tremendously. That's part of why we did it. And it helps people that don't know our characters be able to want to grab the book and hold it. And then 80% of your sales there is done there. But it's a 48-page book with no ads. So you open that book up, you've got 48 pages of content. You've got 2 stories. There's a B-side in every Bad Idea book.
Yeah, I love that. That B-side was great. Like, that was the fascinating. I missed out on Hero Trade. Like, of course, that
We're
was
reprinting it in issue 3 of ENIAC, so you'll get to read
Oh,
it.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm a reader. I mean, I flip and collect enough to pay for my hobby and so I'm not in the poorhouse or the doghouse because my wife's going, why'd you spend all that money?
Mm-hmm.
But
I feel
that is such a great, like you're right. The paper quality is amazing. The art in here is just fantastic.
Braithwaite. Amazing.
Great stories, and I like the fact there's a B-side, that concept and everything. We'll come back, and I want there's a couple more questions I have, but I want to come on some of the other things that
Sure.
if you go to the site, go to the Bad Ideas. What's the
Bad Idea Corp? BadIdeaCorp.com.
If you go to the site, it is amazing. Like you can tell their brains are messed up and amazing at the same time. I don't know if that's a compliment to you.
I agree with that. I'm not sure either.
They go through and just have fun. And like this guy, the button is the most ridiculous thing. But when I started reading through the article, I was like, okay, they created this button. You click it and something's supposed to happen. But then like the next article you guys write, the button has taken over. We have been told, and it's like, right, we serve the button. And it's just
all hell the
fun.
Button.
It reminds me of college.
This photo, by the way, you have is the button died. And it was very sad. It became a black button. It was dead. 4 buttons replaced it, different types of buttons. And then the original button came back, but he had a mullet. This is a picture of the return of the button. So back from the dead.
It's just it looked like you guys made the best of the pandemic.
Yeah, that's why we did it. That's why we tried to do it.
You just had fun. You've created something, because originally, from what I read, and this is just all reading on the site, like originally you were supposed to come out last May with the first book of ENIAC, and you only had ENIAC and Tankers so far in the.
That's May. That's right. No, you're right. May.
Yeah. Like right. You're doing it. I mean, you timed it right. You're going to do Free Comic Book Day or whatever.
Exactly right.
You're releasing the week Free Comic Book Day to get the most eyes on it as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw I mean, you had already done the sneaky hero trade, I think.
No, we hadn't.
You hadn't done that.
The hero trade was when we announced.
October.
Yeah, when we announced initially, we had I think it was November, maybe it was October. We had planned for Free Comic Day. We were actually I keep saying April, so we were going to ship it in a couple of days early, the end of April, so they had it for the Wednesday before Free Comic Day, and then the Saturday of Free Comic Book Day, which usually works very well for us. Of course, the pandemic hits. The first thing we did was we took our marketing budget and we sent it to all of our stores that were signed up.
I love seeing that. $25,000 split between the first 100 stores.
It's not a huge amount of money, but it's what little we can do.
Yeah, I mean, especially because that month of April, most stores.
Yeah, it was tough.
Some flipped online. Actually, some stores actually end up doing better because they learned how to sell things online.
Ultimately, yes. But in that period, it was very tricky.
Oh yeah.
Everyone was thinking 30% of the stores are going to go out of business. So what can anyone do? Maybe we can help pay for a light bulb or two. And we got calls from the stores after we did that saying, hey, if you really want to help, there's other things you can do as well. We said, great. What else can we do? We kept getting pitched. We have some fans. People are pre-ordering for Bad Idea. They were excited about the launch. Why don't you give us an ash can? Something we can sell. And they pointed to The Walking Dead because Kirkman did something like that. He did Negan Lives, I think.
Yeah.
To help stores in that period. We thought that was a great idea, but we didn't want to we'd done so much of it at Valiant. We didn't want to do the kind of gimmicky foil thing.
Yeah.
We'd just gotten the story in the hero trade, which was meant to be a B-side. It was going to be a B-side in one of the books. We all loved it. We said, you know what, why don't we just print this up and send to the stores and it's an ash can. Then of course, because we're Bad Idea, we had to make the idea just one step too far. And we said, you know what we always get at Valiant, we used to get, and at shows we used to get, I'm sure the stores get as well, is you would get people that want to break into comics. They would draw their own comic. They would write it. They would mail it to you. They'd say, hey, here's my comic. What do you think? Can you hire me? Can you publish it? And so we created the hero trade in a way that it was black and white. It was printed on this like rough paper, uncoated paper. It looked amateur. Sent a letter that said, we didn't tell them it was from Bad Idea or the creators.
Was it button-up comics or something like that?
Yes, we had button-up comics on the back. And we said to them, hey, I'm a huge fan of the store, which technically is true. This is my first comic. I guess also technically true. And really excited about it. Would love if you could sell it in the store for a cover price. And if you want more, email at theherotrade@gmail.com. Knowing full well that the direct market is not set up to support this kind of amateur book.
Yeah.
We didn't tell them it was written by Matt Kindt and it was drawn by David Lapham and that it's a bad idea book. And then we announced the button. And the button was, the goal of the button is to get 1 billion clicks. And every day the button sets a reward, get 10,000 clicks the next hour, it'll release some of the bad idea pages, art, etc. So as it approached 1 billion, it said one day, okay, at 800 million, buckle up. If you hit 800 million today, I will publish the first comic book. And they hit 800 million, the fans did. And the button just tweeted, great, first comic books in stores. And everyone ignored it. What are you talking about? And then a couple minutes later said, okay, don't believe me? It's called the Hero Trade. But what are you talking about? And then it said, okay, fine, here's a photo. And the fans still were like, what's going on? But every store was like, oh no, I recognize that. I think I threw it out. I think it's in my dollar bin. And we thought maybe some people would care. You know, it's a new company. We're hoping anyone cares. That thing was nuts. I mean, that's $1,000 book, I think, now. People were nuts at it.
Was it some crazy store tried to get YouTube clicks? Did like tore each page?
Yeah.
And then another one went and they showed you how to Kinko copy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I was like, it's gobbledygook all over again here.
Well, we thought about that. We did talk to the printer about that. So the paper that we used to print it, while it looks amateur and feels amateur and it looks like something in Kinko's, is actually incredibly difficult to find. Yeah. We had to special order it. And if we ever use it again, it's about a 3-month wait to get it. So it won't be counterfeitable.
Yeah.
You'll be able to tell that. CGC will be able to tell that. But yeah, stores so
CGC could tell it, but not like the average fan. I mean,
no, you can tell it. If a comic,
but you have to have another one to compare it to, right? Like, is it that noticeable?
It's rough.
Okay.
I think so. I guess.
Like, I mean, how many of us walk around and like, okay, well, Hero Trade, and then here's a piece of notebook paper. Okay, this one feels, I mean, to the average fan, hopefully they, if they're going to go track down the Hero Trade, they're going to be watching what you say and check your sites and go, okay, there is counterfeits out there. There are the paper quality.
We didn't. This was before. Since then, we've had bootlegs.
Yeah.
There was a store that took some of our digital previews that we put up online and printed them out into little ash cans, and those things are going for like $50 a piece. We keep telling people, don't buy those; they're not official.
Yeah.
But people keep buying them, so maybe we should be thinking about, if we do something like the Hero Trade again, some kind of UV watermark or some way for people to be able to tell.
Well, I caught a video the other day. You're talking about trying to do invisible comic books or whatever.
We have perfected the invisible comic book. I can't wait for us to be ridiculed when we show that thing off.
So, well, we just sat through talking about it. Is that number correct? 250 copies floating around out there?
It's a little high. It's about that. It's between 200 and 250.
Okay.
It's in that range.
So
no, you know what? I'm sorry. Yes, that's right. Because it's 150. We had 154 locations at that point. 100 stores, 154 locations, and then 3 or 4 stores actually did, I think, figured it out. They never told us they figured it out, but they did order about 10 to 20 copies each.
Okay. And I threw Key Collector out there because that's where I found this information. I pulled it from their site, but also there's all this back end with you about Key Collector and you having a relationship because they promote Hero Trade in a way that other people weren't promoted. And then when ENIAC came out, they had this big, huge article that we're not supporting ENIAC, but it was a big, huge, beautiful article about ENIAC.
I actually just heard this yesterday for the first time. People think that I own Key Collector. Or that I have some kind of stake in it or something. I can, again, de facto say I do not have any ownership, stake, relationship to Key Collector beyond I like the app. I like it as much as I like CBSI or Cover Price or Go Collect. Probably the one I use the most is actually GPA. That's probably my favorite.
Well, yeah.
But that's just a data thing.
Yeah.
And I know Nick, the guy that runs it and owns it. And he just do the thing that regular publishers do. I keep him up to date on what we're doing.
Well, and I don't know, Nick calls every person that has any influence or has any connection to things, because I interviewed John Jackson Miller, and he's like, yeah, Nick calls me all the time about Star Wars information. Like,
yeah, Nick is he's like a dog with a bone.
Yeah, if he finds out something's popular and it's going to get clicks to his app and his site, he's going to call and ask questions and find out his information. But it is something that has been floating around out there. Hilarious. That people think that you have a stake or something because of just the way Hero Trade was treated and the way. But at the same time, Nick just posts what he finds out there. I mean, the same thing. It is interesting, but I wanted to bring that up because it did come up. It has come up in lots of different spec groups that I'm a part of. Well, Dinesh,
Fascinating.
he has Key Collector in his back pocket, and those types of statements are made.
It's so interesting, especially because I've had a couple arguments with Nick about like, what do you mean? I'm looking at the Hot 10. Why is Hero Trade not in the Hot 10? It's just I saw a copy sell for this much, and he's like, no man, it's these other books are hotter. So from my standpoint, it's kind of hilarious because, and I guess looking at it, they have been very good to us. But on the other hand, also like ENIAC isn't every major top 10 list this week has ENIAC on it, and somewhere on the list, even CBSI has it. I think it's number
7th or 8th this week.
Yeah, and it was on last week as well. Cover Price had it at number 1. Everyone's got it. Not Key Collector.
You can't ignore.
Well, Key Collector did.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about that. If I owned it, it would maybe be different.
Yeah.
Or maybe actually, if I owned it, maybe this would be exactly what I did. Get them off the trail.
Well,
right?
given the fact, I don't know if I can trust you or not on this because your website, the way it reads as someone who just likes to mess with people. So maybe you're messing with me now. I just, which I love.
As a small publisher, we have to do crazy things to break through the noise, right?
Yeah.
It's like, honestly, it's like having kids. The first kid can just be good and do what the parent says, and they get the love. The second kid's got to be the black sheep, right, to get the love. As you go further down the kids, we're like what? We're like publisher, most important publisher number 30, 50, 100. I don't know. Basically, every publisher is a bigger publisher than us at this point. We've got to be the wacky kid. We've got to be the one that you just like, I don't know if that kid has brain damage or what's going on, but you can't look away.
Yeah.
We've got to be the train wreck.
And if I wrote about when ENIAC was coming out, I basically compared you guys to Crystal Pepsi. Basically say
it's great.
It could be the greatest thing ever, or it could be over as soon as. But everyone had to have Crystal Pepsi when it came out. It was the greatest thing. It had some of the best commercials and the best advertising, and then it's no longer around. I hope that doesn't happen because I actually really liked your story. It was the novelty of it was interesting to me. A lot of it was fascinating to me, but you have good quality too. So I hope that's what wins out. But like. You guys were supposed to come out right before Free Comic Book Day, right beginning of the pandemic. AWA came out same time. They decided to write it out, and they went a different route. They went, we are not going to do this giant publishing push. We're going to give our comic away free online. And you guys have done something similar, but
we're kind of the opposite. They were unlucky. They didn't have the chance. We had about 30 days, maybe less than 30 days notice.
Yeah.
When everything started to shut down, I had a movie coming out at that point. I had Bloodshot.
Yeah.
It was coming out in theaters. So I was lucky enough.
You get hit from one side on it, and you're like, damn.
Yeah. And I was getting all the knowledge of this Death Star, Sony Pictures, telling me everything that they were hearing about COVID. So I was like, okay, this is gonna be a problem. AWA they were already in their cycle. They were launching a month before, so there was no stopping that train. Yeah. I think if we had launched then, I think we'd be dead now. I just don't think we would have survived the pandemic. Good for them for building the way they have. But for us, in terms of being Crystal Pepsi, first of all, I love the idea of Crystal Pepsi. Growing up in Hong Kong, I never got to try it. Actually, I'm going to see if I can find one on eBay. It's probably 30 years old at this point. But it doesn't really matter to us. Now, so. We didn't anticipated not that many people caring. We really thought when we announced the bad idea, we thought maybe 25 stores that are our friends would just take pity on us and stock the books.
Yeah,
we were good with that. So to have this, if the craziness of the heat dies down and we still get to make our books, we're still going to make our books.
Okay. So because this statement here, and you said it earlier, this is where my question comes in, because you have those guys who jumped in and were part of the 154. And then it grew. I guess it's still 154, but then some stores like my comic Rick's had a second store, so that you have two stores now technically, but it's still one owner.
Yeah, one owner. So we're at about 250, 275 locations now as of launch.
But when I read this, no digital releases. That's bold in this time period. I love that. Even though I do like reading digitally, I like having it paper in my hand. No trade paperbacks is where a lot of small publishers make their money on that first series.
Yeah.
And then, but the no variant covers, and this is where people have a sticking point with that statement, and then you look at the image. Because a lot of people go, that's two covers.
Not first printing?
Yeah. That's technically a variant.
So let's walk through it, because there's reasons behind this. And the thinking, I think, will illuminate some of it. No digital releases. Here's why no digital releases. We like comics, physical comics in comic book stores. That's a
Yeah.
huge piece of what we're doing. We feel like in saying to stores, you don't have to sign up. You can if you want to. We've managed to get the stores that are going to be the best stores to sell our type of books. And so we want to encourage that. Every customer that we can, every Bad Idea fan we can build, we want to build in one of our destination stores because we feel like they will have the best experience there and they're more likely to become lifelong Bad Idea fans. No trade paybacks, very similar thing. 2 reasons for no trade paybacks. One is no matter what we do, 90% of those trades will be sold on Amazon. Nothing we can do, there's nothing the stores can do. None of us can fight the discounting, the warehousing, the power of Amazon.
Yeah.
So we decided rather than build trades, which 10% of them will be sold in stores to trade paperback readers, trade waiters, 90% will be Amazon. We won't do them because we're worried that some of those people that are now going into stores and buying the physical single issue would just wait or buy it on Amazon. We don't want that. We want them in the stores. The other reason is trades work very differently than comics. There's a huge inventory cost to them. And for a publisher like us, 2-3 years from now, we're probably sitting on 7 figures of trade inventory that we're selling slowly because you have to print them up front and you sell a little. We don't want that. We'd rather take that money and we put it somewhere else, which is, again, why you get this ridiculous cover, 48 pages, backups in every issue, top creative teams. And then no variant covers. What we're trying to do is we're trying to say to people, we want it to be simple. We can't not print a second printing because we'll sell out.
Yeah.
Unless we sell it. And if we sell it, then we're essentially incentivizing the speculators. So what do? We print as many as we think we can reasonably print for the first printing and hopefully not sell out. And if we sell out, then we can do second print, third print, fourth print. But we don't like that because each of those printings gets smaller. And what happens is you variantize those. So we said, okay, we can't not do another printing because there's no way we can print. We can't sit on 100,000 copies of the first print of every book. We've got to pick a number at some point that's reasonable. And with ENIAC 1, we picked far too low a number. But I think we're going to rectify that now with tankers, etc. And then if we sell out, we go to a not first printing. So I assumed that not first printing would come down the road. We printed the covers together because it takes so long to print those things. It's like 3 weeks to print those with all the different processes. So we had those. I was lucky to be able to fulfill all the orders. But we tried not to do a second, third, fourth. We combined them. So we can say to people, yes, I guess it, in the truest sense of the word variant, it is a variantation of the first printing. Yeah. However, it's not a collectible. There are more copies, significantly more copies of the not first printing than the first printing. Yeah. And every day that goes by, there are more copies.
Okay. I guess it's interesting. Like I like it. I mean, I like the idea of, okay, if the first print, my follow-up would be those first stores that signed up with you, and they definitely got the first print. But then you had to come out and say, you know what, we're doing 51% get first prints and 49% get not first printings. And that I know frustrated some stores because they're like, wait, I've been with you.
It isn't 51% of the stores. Everybody got the same. Every store, whether you signed up, you were the first store or you were the last store to sign up, whatever you ordered, 51% of those books, say you ordered 100 copies, 51% of those copies would be a first printing. And 49% of those copies would be a not first printing. Or you could email us and say, you know what, I only want the first printings. I didn't order not first printings. I don't need them. We let them opt out. Okay. So everyone got allocated equally. It wasn't that some stores only got first printings.
So stores could opt out beforehand so the ones that ordered heavily, thinking that they would just have them on the shelf to sell.
Yeah.
Okay.
But nobody did. We had a couple stores. We had, I think, 3 stores think about opting out. And then they got in touch with us probably within the week that we announced the allocation saying, you know what, I'm having a lot of interest in this book. I'm going to keep them.
So what about issue 2 for this book? Like, how are you approaching, like, will there be more first print issue 2s if we're supposed to sign up for all 4 issues?
There's no not first printing. Oh, I see what you're saying in terms of, well, the stores have to, what we've done to stores is we've said, whatever your allocation was, 51% of the number you ordered, that's the number you're being held to for issue 2. It's not fair for us to say, again, I'll just use the round number. You ordered 100 copies, but you only got 51 copies of the first print. You have to order 100 copies of issue 2. We said to them, no. Whatever your allocation of first prints was, that is your now minimum number for 2, 3, and 4.
So, okay, what about phase 2? Like the guys that came in late, because like, is there a reward for phase, or is phase 2 not on ENIAC? Did they just get start with tankers? Like, how does phase 2 work?
So wave 1 and wave 2.
Oh, sorry, wave 1.
Both
sorry.
in. Sorry, but it's confusing for me as well. They're both in time to be able to, because of the push, because of the pandemic, to order ENIAC 1 for the shelf. We did announce a wave 3. They weren't in time to order ENIAC 1. What we did is we got them in to order tankers. So the first bad idea book they'll be able to get is tankers.
So
However,
they can't pick up ENIAC 2.
They can order tankers 1 and ENIAC 2, and they can order as many not first printings in ENIAC 1 that they want. We did also hold back a small reserve, very small reserve of ENIAC 1 first print, so they can order 5 copies per store of ENIAC 1 first printing. It's meant to be 10, but then with the allocation, we allocated them as well. Okay. So they can only order 5. And we're going to try and do that for wave 4. It depends how many stores sign up. We're going to run out of some point.
That's okay, because that was my biggest curiosity. Like all the frustration I was seeing from all different sides of all this over issue 1. I want to know that my issue 2 would be a first print and my issue 3 would be for, like, I want the complete set of issue 1, 2, 3, but also I want to feel like, and I, as a store that signed up earlier, the store I go to, that because I signed up, I did to your website, I did the entire thing. I wanted to make sure that I have that ability. I don't have to go, that there's some sort of reward for believing in you before everyone thought it was a good book.
There was. One of the things that I can talk to you about is, did you pre-order? You pre-ordered, right?
I pre-ordered, yeah.
Did you get a first print?
I got a first print.
So one thing that we were able to do, because we have such a small number of stores, there's 10,000 stores globally.
Yeah.
There's 2,000-3,000, depending how you count, in North America alone. We have 200 stores.
Yeah.
So Adam Freeman, our head of sales, can contact, and he did, almost every store once we announced the allocation. And he said to them, how many pre-orders do you have? We got this number, and we figured at 51%, I wished it was a slightly small number, but at 51%, we were able to cover 99% of the stores for all their pre-orders. So with a few exceptions, there was a store in Australia, there's another store in Greece, with a few exceptions, very, very few, we were able to say to every store, you will have enough first printings for all your pre-orders. It's the people that didn't pre-order, they're going to have trouble, and they may, if they care, not get a first printing. Yeah, so again, I would say, anyone that wants to make sure they get a first printing, please pre-order the books.
So that's
for any
that is, and that, well, yeah, I mean, and that, I've talked to different publishers, not just, you're not my, and like that is such a big thing, the FOC and ordering ahead of time so and important. Keeping it, because I mean, I've no telling how many books that I've seen that I came in late to. Like I read it, I picked up issue 1, 2, and 3 in a back issue bin or something, and then was like, "Where's 4?" Well, my store quit getting it because it had, like, the story was good, but it hadn't caught on yet. Like I do like what you did with ENIAC. It does require stores have to take a gamble, and that you're rewarding them with the not first print. But the other downside of it, though, because this. So the consequences of not being able to sell it. But if I'm a store and I have that's a weird dynamic, because this happened, like, this book came out on Wednesday, this was announced on Friday. I mean, how many stores have
it announced? Yeah, it was on Friday. I mean, there was one store. They were very, very I don't know if they were vocal or they were just really terrible at hiding it. Yeah. But it was very obvious that they were.
And you posted this on your site to where you're like, here's the image and the blatantness of it. Hey, if you guys want one, it's $25.
Other people tracked it down. We've never said who the store was, and no one's looking to shame anybody.
Yeah.
So we will never say who the store was. But some people have speculated, and there are images out there of posts. But yes, someone took their first printings and said, I'm not putting them in my shop. They're available for, I think it was like $150 a piece. Yeah. It's a blatant infraction, and we have to police that in the same way that we're going to police the stores are trusting us that we did have to allocate, that we don't have a stack of first prints, that we're not going to let some stores break the rules and play favorites. The readers are trusting us that we're going to stay in business, that we're going to make good comics, that we're not going to, if you're speculating you're paying $150 on eBay, you're trusting us that there isn't going to be a box full of first printings that turn up 6 months from now. So we have to keep all these promises that we're not going to be making comic books for very long, and we'd like to keep making comic books.
It was just so interesting that happening and all that. You guys,
but the bright side is we did get to, then I think it was Monday or Tuesday, we announced Neighborhood Comics, which was our first the store in the next wave that we're going to announce later. There was a slot open. Come in, so we announced them.
Oh, I see. I didn't. That
Yeah.
see, I didn't get to that part of it. So that's helpful from the standpoint. So you truly are trying. It's one of those when something new and a new concept comes out, trying to see all the different sides. That you're a comic book fan. You're also a business. You have to make your money. That balance of, and then we as speculators and comic book fans, and like I classify myself as a reader first, then speculator, but I work and write, or I write for a site that is speculator first 7 times out of 10. And the community got upset when you're like, wait, you're releasing a book on the same day, but one of them is a second print and one of them is a first print. That's just blatantly pointing out the fact that printers print a bunch of books at one time. And
we do. We do. I mean, look, the worst kept secret in comics is that every publisher prints a second print of a big book the exact same time they print the first prints, and they just sit at the printer until you need them, because it saves money. It saves a lot of money. When you turning the printing machine on is a huge expense.
Yeah.
Every edition, that first copy you print, in a way, is very, very expensive. Every other copy is like peanuts. It's not even like worth thinking about. So to run a couple thousand more is very, very cheap. To then call them a week later and say, hey, we need to do first print, a second print now, turn the machine on again, that's very expensive. It's also, just candidly, maybe some publishers won't like that we're talking about so many of these things. Candidly, it's a way to get people to be excited. There's huge books. There's books that sell 500,000 copies, and then the next day they announce sold out distributor level.
Are you talking about the book that came out the same day as you and already has a second print at 600,000 print run?
I didn't know that. Actually, I didn't know. I was thinking of Marvel and DC do this a lot. I was thinking of the Detective Comics 1000, the Action Comics 1000.
Oh yeah,
Marvel Star Wars books.
Absolute Carnage, King in Black. You're just like, how could there's 30,000 copies on my shelf at my LCS, and you're doing a second print? I mean,
but here's how it works. So you sell at distributor level means there are no more copies at Diamond. We're not a Diamond customer at Bad Idea, but we were at Valiant. There's no more copies at Diamond for the stores to order, which is a very easy thing to do. I would call Diamond all the time and say, hey, how many copies we got left? Oh, we got a couple hundred? That's not very many. I tell you what, send them to the office. We're going to announce that we're sold out distributor level. Or we would sometimes send an email to retailers saying, hey, there's a few hundred left. Who wants to get them? They would wipe them out. Then we'd announce sold out. Here's a second printing. And what it does is people look at that and they say, there must be some heat around this. It doesn't give you any sense of how many copies are still sitting in the stores.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. Well, yeah, I think the publishers are going to be upset that you just revealed that they do those types of things, or that you did those type of things back in the day, or maybe you still do those things. But
it's no. I mean, we're not a Diamond customer anymore. And what we're trying to do is play a simpler game, right? We're not, the difference between Bad Idea and I think a lot of the publishers is we just want to make comic books. We're not trying to build, again, Marvel 2.0, which means we don't have to take over the world. And taking over the world is great. Ambition is phenomenal. We did it at Valiant. Very tired. It takes a cost. There's a physical cost to it. At Valiant, we were all working way too many hours. I mean, it was not uncommon for someone to break down physically, need to go to the emergency room. Hunter was our head of marketing there, was in a moon boot for like a year. Warren's got back problems. I have a physical ailment that is not a huge one, but a lifelong one now that I've got to deal with from just not sleeping enough. We all have these issues. We don't want to do that again.
So you make the comic book industry not sound as fun as everyone thinks. It's just, I get to draw Spidey all day long.
Dude, it's so fun. Even after all that, here's the thing. Even after all that, we're all back on the horse. We're just trying to do less, just a little, 2 books a month. High quality, not as much. It's so much fun. Seeing the art come, the best part is seeing the art come in.
Okay, Tankers, I've seen, of course, I've only seen the images from the preview mag and then what you have on the site or whatever. It's black and white. Is that what? Is it really going to be black?
Tankers is colored. We haven't shown the colors off yet. Okay. We wanted to give the colors.
The detail, because it's going to be, but at the same time, that's one of those books you go, it's going to be just a fun, crazy ass read. But today's comic market, it's hard. It's that weird balance. You always go, can this be made? You just did Bloodshot. Can this be made into a movie? Can this be made into a TV show? Like, are you guys going to, I know you have to be playing that game as well, because you can't just be saying, we're going to write books we want to write and not make money.
Yes and no. We are actually just making books that we want to make, because it's just the cost of doing business now is Hollywood, right? So if I was to put my producer, I have a whole separate company called All Nighter that produces film and TV. We're doing the Gideon Falls TV show based on Jeff Lemire's book. We got a James Gunn project, a James Wan thing. We got a bunch of stuff going on, and I did the Bloodshot movie.
Which got screwed over by the pandemic. I watched that. I enjoyed the movie, but I was like, dang, it doesn't get
I can't complain, man. I can't complain. It did so well on VOD and home video. That thing maybe wouldn't have had a life afterwards if it came out theatrically. I don't know. But it's going to have a life. I can't reveal it, but I can say it's going to continue. That story's going to continue. If I put my producer hat on, I could see ENIAC as a TV show. I think that makes a good TV show. I could see Tankers as a movie, but I don't think anyone's making that movie. That movie's going to cost $800 million. I mean, you've got mech suits, time travel, dinosaurs.
Has to be Avatar 0.3 or something like that.
Whalesville could be an animated thing, maybe TV show. Same with Rocks and Minerals. They're probably not commercial enough for that industry. Maybe if like Spike Jonze or somebody exciting wants to do it, somebody like a little voicey. The Lot, certainly, I think that's a layup as a horror film. And Margaret's done an amazing job writing that. Sleigh Bells, no one's making that thing in a million years.
What?
Rambo story starring Santa Claus is never happening. And the same with our backups. Like, I don't know what happens to the Hero Trade. No one's making that. It's too much like Marvel and The Boys, and there's nothing, we've got a story called Hank Howard, Pizza Detective. It's about a guy who works, he's like a low-rent detective. He works for Domino's. And if $30 goes missing from the till, he has to go harass the 16-year-old part-time employee to find out where it went. No one's making that movie or TV show. We're just trying to have fun, and we're trying to tell stories that fit this medium. Even though ENIAC can be a TV show, the comic book will always be the better medium for ENIAC, the story. We try to take advantage of what comics can do as a art form with our stories. At Valiant, it was different. At Valiant, we were certainly thinking about, well, how do we tell the story in a way that can be adaptable? Because we had to. That was part of the responsibility.
What was it? Because you dabbled with the Ninjak YouTube TV
the web series.
The web series or whatever. Because I picked up a couple of those issues just so like, what's going on here? These are real actors on the covers.
What we were trying to do there was, there's a big piece of what built Marvel and DC that doesn't exist anymore, and that's Saturday morning cartoons. Right? Like, I grew up watching the X-Men cartoons. I fell in love with the X-Men. That's probably where I saw the X-Men first. I can't remember. You don't have that today, and so if you're trying to make Valiant into the next Marvel, you have to solve for that. And where has that moved? Probably YouTube. So we tried to build our own Saturday morning cartoon, but a YouTube version of it. And it did well. Last I've heard, it's 30-40 million views on that thing.
So it's one of those, it's just a different form of success, and it's balancing all that and figuring it out. But man, Dinesh, I listened to you explain some of the questions that have been out there that have been floating, trying to dispel myths. No, if you say you don't own any part of Key Collector, so so that knowing that, and then you revealing, revealing that, hey, back when I was at Valiant, I would go and tell Diamond, give me the last 100 copies, or those type of things. Those rumors had been out there. So knowing that, hey, this is what you own, this is what you don't own, and then you're also creating this comic, and you're really trying, or not, you're creating this company that's trying to create comics that are for readers first. And that annoys the hell out of speculators. But it's okay.
And it seems to get them excited as well. That's the surprise to me.
And I'm curious. I'm excited. You answered my biggest question. Can I get issue 2, 3, and 4 because I subscribe, and there'd be first prints, and that there is a special there. It's special for that. That there's ENIAC 1, 2, and 3, and 4 will be less first prints out there than Tankers. Tankers, more stores might order maybe an additional 10 to 12 copies. So ENIAC will be the sort of your bell winner thing, which it looks like it is. Of course, it's gorgeous. I mean, I love this cover. I actually do want to get not first printing. I'll go to, when my store orders some, I'll go get one just because I want a reader copy I can flip through. Though I did read this one straight up.
Everything in the first printing is in the not first printing.
Okay.
But we did add one extra little thing in the not first printing. On the inside back cover, we did a kind of a Marvel Universe handbook style entry of a character in the Bad Idea universe, I guess you could call it.
So is it different or is it the same? So the not first printing.
Not in the first printing. Not first printing has everything in the first printing is in the not first printing, and then a little something on top. We were trying to say to people that maybe would have been disappointed they couldn't get a first printing, like, hey, here's a little something that.
But every not first printing has the same one. like the same character drawn?
Every ENIAC one not first printing. If when we do another not first printing, we'll probably do a different one.
But for ENIAC 2, if there's not first printing, it'll be a different something or whatever drawn.
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure there wasn't like there's actually a not first printing third print because it has this character.
No. We're going to do everything we can to avoid that.
Okay.
Because we've been on the phone with the printer just nonstop, being like, it has to look exactly this. No one can tell.
You're going to get that one printer that the foil runs out, and all of a sudden you're going to have an entire fourth print run with the slightly faded red or something.
Don't say that to me. I don't. First of all, no one will believe that we didn't do it on purpose. Secondly, they'll call us geniuses for doing it. Third, it will keep me up at night and be like, oh, why are we so stupid?
Well, the old adage, no press is bad press. The fact that this allocation thing that pissed people off when the second they heard it, guess what it did? It caused people to line up around the store to get in to go buy it, and they just say, you know what? I didn't get but I want to see what it's all about. I'm gonna buy a second print. My LCS was sold out. Not only the first prints, up the second prints. They had I don't know how big of a stack, because by the time I got there, I was like, I sure do hope they have it in my box. It was in my box for me, but they were sold out by Sunday.
But that's crazy. That's something that we never saw at Valiant. And I think that's part of perhaps where we made an error in judgment coming up with our first print run, because you got to look at 200 stores, and there's 2,000 to 3,000 stores in America. So do they order 5 to 10% of what they normally would? Or do they make up for a little bit more because they're making up for stores that aren't part of the program? No one knows our characters. What are they going to order? We did our top projection.
Yeah.
Looking back, and we did that partly, I think, subconsciously because of what we saw at Valiant. We never had lines. No matter what we did, no matter Jeff Lemire, it didn't matter. We never had lines for a book. We never had people camping out. Yeah. First book at Bad Idea, we have that. I think that's probably partly where we miscalculated. We looked at the ceiling being the Valiant. Bad Idea. I was texting with some of my old colleagues at Valiant, the ones that had left when I left, telling them what our not first printing reorder number is.
Yeah. And
they were like, that's 1 0 too many.
Yeah.
I was like, no, this is insane.
But the pandemic created a comic market that's ridiculous in a way that, books, keys and not keys are selling for ridiculous prices.
Yeah.
But people, I started a freaking podcast because of the pandemic. There's more chances to get people out there, talking heads, talking about books, talking about their interest, but people are also looking at stories, and when the not first printing thing got announced, people started having FOMO, or fear of missing out, that took over, and people lined up and they wanted to do it. When you took over Valiant, comics were still, variants were coming out, and the variants were popular, but it still was a niche collector. There was too many of them that bombed.
I hadn't thought about that.
So
that's very true. Especially the new comic market is very different now. I'm a huge collector, but the one place I'm not a big collector, two places are probably foreign comics. I'm not a huge foreign comic collector, but I'm not a new comic collector.
Yeah.
Punchline, and I struggle to keep up, so I'm just not interested in collecting new comics.
Well, and Marvel and DC I feel like they fall into the side as far as now. When I say fall into the side, they still set the market tone.
Yeah.
People aren't as excited about if you look at the most talked about books, Something's Killing the Children has been talked about in nauseum. Your book is being talked about for the past 3 weeks, has been talked about leading up to it. And we're still talking about this week. It's still on top 10 list, which is an accomplishment for any book that comes out the first week. They hit the top 10 and stay on the top 10 on multiple sites.
Amazing. Yeah.
But Something's Killing Children. Yeah.
Calling them out.
Department of Truth, when I think of the books that people talk about, they talk about what WandaVision does and how it influences the market. And they talk about indie spec and indie books that are interesting, indie books, because people read the stories. There's entire Facebook groups dedicated. I'm sure Bad Idea has one, not that you create, when a fan creates it.
Yeah,
it's even
there's a Bad Idea fans Facebook group. Yeah, a couple thousand people in there. It's wonderful.
So, it's, I don't know. I know I have friends even at CBS that are like, I don't understand this. I can't get behind it. I was like, dude, I'm going to read the book. I was interested. I read it. I liked it. I like where I want to see the rest of the story. It makes me want to go back and read Matt's other stuff. I never read Mind MG, however you say it.
Mind Management. MG. Wonderful. Oh my God, that book is incredible. You've got to read Mind Management.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever read it. I never got into Valiant. I'm sorry, I just never did.
Tough. It's tough. Yeah, I get it.
But Matt had 2 books come out, or 3 books come out on the exact same day. I've never seen. Very seldom does a writer have that happen at the same time.
Yeah, no,
but
and 3 big books, great books.
yeah. But I mean, to have 3 big books that are also 2 of the 3 be huge sellers, like sold out on both, like that's pretty impressive. But he's a good writer. Like I'm like, dude, I'm excited for issue 2. I'm excited for. Does issue 2 come out before Tankers, or do they come out at the same time?
Same day. So every Bad Idea book, we're going to do Bad Idea Wednesday every month. First Wednesday of the month, that's when our books come out. No more than 2 a month. So you're going to get Tankers 1 and ENIAC 2. This first Wednesday of April, and then first Wednesday of May, you're going to get ENIAC 3 and Walesville. Tankers takes a month off.
Okay.
We don't want to do more than 2 books a month. And then Tankers.
Walesville's just a one shot, right?
Walesville is a giant. Well, what we did with Walesville is it's a 40-page story. We added on top of that a second story called Rocks and Minerals. So this is a monster 72-page book that's kind of a Miyazaki Pixar thing.
Then the next question would be: is that an $8 book? Is that still a $4 book?
$9.99. That was a $9.99 book. Yeah, and Tankers is $5.99.
Does
Tankers is also oversized in terms of content. It's a much bigger story.
Does as a I mean I'm in that the price makes sense. Page count makes a difference in price. But if I was signed, because I signed up on you had your little website, Where's Bad Idea, or I think that's what, and you could sign up at a store to identify a store, and then the store. But if I didn't know that the price what the price is that listed to where, hey, I know Wellsville's going to cost me $10, or
every time we solicit a book, it's updated. Okay. But until we determine the price, we don't list it. Okay. So Sleigh Bells, for instance, there's no price on that. We haven't solicited that book. I got to figure out what we're going to we have to charge for that book.
Okay, because that does make a difference, because that typically affects sales. Like if it's a $10 book, you'll sell less. You'll sell less. But then again, see, that's the difference with Bad Idea and I think other publishers is that's okay. I'm super proud of the stories. I think the book's going to be awesome. And we're not looking for, I keep saying this, and I think it helps people. We're not trying to be something everybody loves, which is what we try to do with Valiant. We're trying to be something that some people absolutely, absolutely adore. And that's when you run into niche collectors, and not this, when you run into, they are adamant about what they love. And they want everything about it, and they line up for it. You said you don't do foreign. When you run into the foreign collecting market,
they're crazy. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
They love that stuff.
So I like the idea. Like Scout's been around longer than you guys have. They have created this market of people that just love every Scout book that comes out.
Yeah.
I mean, they have 2 Scout geeks, and they do a podcast, and they talk about Scout books. I've become a Scout head too. I mean, I'm a fan. I don't know if that's the term they call themselves. I've just decided to make that up.
They're nice guys. I like those guys.
I like the smaller the publisher, these niche fans though are so crazy and exciting and everything. And I think that knowing that that's what you're going for, and of course make your money at the same time. It's like one of those, like, I know it's both. You have to play both sides of it at all times. It makes it easier. And I'm glad you're going around doing the tours and talking to as many podcasts as that will have you to try to get that out there, because the last press someone might see is that you kicked someone out, and they might not see the behind the scenes of it, or the fact that PKK one person out who didn't want to do it allowed someone else to step in and get ENIAC 2 first prints instead of second prints.
Yeah, the struggle that we have, we're new, and so we're not just new, we have a new idea. And when you're not following the traditional method, people make assumptions and they get confused, even if it's simple. The other thing we struggle with is we're just small. There's not a lot of awareness. It's starting to be, but there's not a lot of awareness for us. So we have to really fight to get our message out. People will always hear about the controversy before the good. They will hear that we kicked someone out. It's less likely they're going to hear that we did this thing where we brought someone in.
Yeah,
that's okay. We're going to keep banging the drum.
I don't know. It's impressive. Like, I know I'm here in Tennessee and there's 4 stores. That's only 4 stores. One of them being one store that has one guy who has 2 stores and signed up. And then but all of the 4 stores, 3 of them are pretty close to Nashville, Tennessee. So like, if I lived in Knoxville, I don't get or if I live, so you got some, I'm very like your Midwest, some of those big, huge states
that we have might not have no Bad Idea stores. Still, we're trying to, it's not up to us because we're trying to allow the stores to pick. You know, if there's a state that no store wants to be a Bad Idea store, we're not going to force them. We can't force them. But
what's the minimum a store has to buy into for you? Like,
no, they can do whatever they want.
So
They
like
have
if they decide, you know what, I'm going to pick up 3 issues, do the run like 1, 2, 3, 4, but I'm only going to get 3 sent to my store. They can do that.
Yeah. Or a store can order ENIAC. Say they order 3 copies of ENIAC 1, 2, 3, and 4, and order 0 tankers. It's fine.
Okay. So they don't have to do the entire shebang.
Not every bad idea book. No, they can pick and choose which ones they want. We'd like them to do all of them, but it's up to them. But a lot of the stores are mail ordering. That's the other thing that we're seeing. And even the international stores are mail ordering. So if you don't have a store near you, it's a little more work and it's a little more weight, totally. But we think the books are worth it.
Yeah. But that's Dinesh. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for talking, clearing up stuff. Once again, guys, this Comic Creator Chats. Hopefully, I'll plan on trying to drop this as soon as possible. This is Friday. We're talking. I plan on dropping this either Friday or Saturday morning as soon as I get the splice done and the article. And the slideshow, guys, that you saw is actually going to be in the article, so you can see all that information. Go to their website, check out the craziness that whoever, I don't know who your website guy is, but that you can see their brain is a little messed up and awesome at the same time. So, but thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
All right. Bye.